Is there a distinct house style? Yes, house style can be seen with the leafy background on my poster and on my animation and banner for my website. Alongside with the mise-en-scene of the trailer, in which all the main plot is focused, it clearly states the importance of Rhyme Park. There was a break in this house style. In both my poster and my gallery on my website, there was conflict in death and wounds iconography, which the audience relates to the genre of massacre. The poster was mainly focused on wounds, which were graphic and burn-like, and had a little blood upon the title. Yet, the pictures in my gallery did not have this same effect. In my trailer there was no wounds or blood on any of the protagonist's faces or in general. This was a clear break in the house style. This meant the audience would not know whether the protagonists were going to be burned, as suggested in my poster, or attacked brutally to show blood, as suggested in my photos in the gallery. Therefore, I was not giving the correct narrative away as described in my synopsis. How would or could they work together? Most of my promotional products could work well together, others may have a few flaws. My poster and my website would work well together, hence, whilst creating my website, I made sure to use the key elements from my poster. Photography was similar because in my poster I used Base 2, which I downloaded from DaFont 3. This gave a distorted effect, and on Weebly I used a pre-installed text which looked similar to the distorted Base 2 effect. One way in which my website and trailer worked well was they both had establishing shots of the mise-en-scene, which clearly stated the location of a traditional, scary massacre film. There was a major issue with the photos of the protagonist, Beth, hence she was dressed in a tomboy outfit on the photos for the website, but in the trailer she is clearly in a girly dress. Please don't! Poster and trailer, it was pure luck that they worked well together. The contrast on my trailer had to be edited because we did most of the shooting during the day, and we were trying to portray a scary evening effect. Therefore, we used contrast to create this look we desired. Here is an example of this editing. On my poster, I made my hand look less realistic by also changing the contrast. My poster suggested that my film was of the massacre genre, but the contrast in my trailer suggested that the film was indeed a psychological horror. This then would confuse the audience. Which targets the intended audience most successfully and why? I feel that my poster was the most successful. At my poster, my audience liked the central image. This image was of a hand which had been burned as such. This was the aim of the central image because its role was to catch the audience's eye. The contrast of the background and the pale looking hand with burns on it clearly made this image look important, and this is why it drew the audience in. Photography was also appealing to the audience. The title took both the slaughter element with the verb dying and the noun leave, which seems to suggest death, and there was an element of going somewhere which suggests a psychological element. Plus, with the font Base 2 for my title, it seems to suggest a muddied area. And for my tagline, I used a distorted text called War Paint. Each of the texts I used looked distorted and broken, which would clearly suggest to the audience that there would be a lot of violence in this film. Which elements were you proud of and why? As a portfolio, I've had a few moments where I felt proud of my work. One moment was when I was able to take criticism and improvements based upon my poster and website. This made both my poster and website a lot stronger and more striking for the audience, and gave me an opportunity to work with different meanings around the title name Dying Leaves. Therefore, I decided to go with, instead of a handprint as shown on my first two posters, an actual hand upon a leafy area which clearly shows it has been wounded. Personally, I feel I'm not the strongest in editing. So, when one of my shots was used in the final trailer, I felt proud. This shot was a candid angle of the final girl stabbing the killer. I had no idea how it would turn out since the camera was rolling whilst face down on the floor. So when it was added into the trailer, I felt proud. This shot also gave a diversity in shots because we mainly was using panning shots to show running. It was also mentioned in our draft that this piece would be very good to end the trailer with because as the trailer could end with a sharp stab of the knife. Is one piece stronger than the others? I feel that my poster was the strongest. It did all of the roles of a professional poster. It was informing but simplistically laid out. The strongest part of my poster was the central image. Unlike other posters, I did not have a central image of leaves, but instead I focused on the dying in leaves. Fit rooms clearly added the iconography in my poster of the slaughter genre. I also feel the typography was very striking because it was distorted. To make improvements to one piece, which would it be and why? The trailer is a piece I want to improve because it did not fit my expectations. As Ryan, our director, pointed out, there is too much psychological horror as shown by the contrast of light, and there should have been more direct violence to represent the massacre genre. We filmed in the dusk because we would have not needed to edit the contrast and it would look more realistic. Seeing the antagonist's back or point of view, we should have seen his face. If we would have seen him behind or chasing the protagonist, it would become much more jumpier for the audience, and it would also give the audience a privileged view. Final point is, I would have found it interesting if we'd have taken the style of the Spanish supernatural horror film Wreck, because this film plays the audience as the cameraman. The audience's position as the cameraman is very interesting, and I feel if we placed this style in my trailer, it would have been very interesting and would have diverted away from the traditional sense of the fly on the wall effect that most trailers have. Now looking at my trailer, you will be able to notice the areas in which need improvement.
It has been 2 years since the brutal killing of Jessica Rudd. I'm in. Who's there? Please don't!
How have your skills developed over the course of the advanced portfolio? For this, I will be looking at 3 areas: research and planning, post-production, and creating my products. Iconography was key in creating these products. To gain a better idea of how the wood/park used on the scene can be adapted to the main focus, I've used the Wakewood poster trailer and website alongside the ruins poster. Even though the narrative was different, it was made clear to me how to create a traditional and conventional horror. As seen in both of the posters, they incorporated a hand in the style of a tree. I tried this and was unsuccessful, so instead of going for the traditional leaf effect or bloody handprint, I decided to go for a hand laid upon leaves to show indeed that it was the massacre horror genre. Then developed my creating skills and my thinking outside of the box skills. because even though all of our group's posters had to look similar, they needed to look individual to each member. I personally took on the case of health and safety in gaining access to Alexandra Park. This meant I had to email Oldham Council and the park itself to notify them about our actions. I also had to create health and safety posters telling people in the park what we were doing, when we were doing it, and why we were doing it. This has developed my skills in organisation and event management, and also it's developed my skills in communications, both face-to-face and indeed via email. How taking more shots is the best thing to do. In my photo shoot for my posters, I experimented with ideas on the hand position. I also experimented with what I wanted to do with the hand. In some shots it is my hand by itself and tree barks, and I was planning to incorporate the tree bark in a hand so the hand looked like it was a tree rising from the ground. In others I had my hand simply laid upon a pile of leaves, and then in Photoshop I was going to edit them by adding bruises and blood. The second idea that I came up with was the best and most easy to edit, and therefore looked most effective, and that is why I used it in my poster. Here to see from my first few drafts of my poster that I had clearly developed in Photoshop. Once being comfortable with Photoshop and downloading it onto my laptop, it has allowed me to become more experimental, and therefore has made my poster a lot stronger and striking. For my website, taking advice from my tutors and fellow students made me realise that a simplistic website is more appealing. Also, when looking at Waitwood's website, that was simplistically laid out yet still appealing to the audience. Finally, from having little knowledge and being a bit scared of Premiere, being able to confidently make small changes is a development for me. There are a few shots, such as the news titling, which went in the wrong direction at first. By simply looking on YouTube and seeing how other people did it, I was able to clearly edit it. Also, when editing with writing, I picked up certain things like how to cut effectively and add music. I found that with Premiere, both in the same sense as Photoshop, that the more times you use it and watch people do it, you become more confident in using it yourself.